Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to loom knit a hat. So I grabbed my 41 peg round loom. This actually came in a kit, and this is the largest one that's in there. And I've got my loom hook, and I picked out Wool Ease yarn for this project. So it has wool in it. It's got the acrylic and the wool rayon, whatever. Wool Ease brand. And this one is a 6 for super bulky. Okay, nice gray color so you can see the stitches really nice on the loom. To grab the yarn, I always pull from the inside. It comes out easier than the one on the outside because you have to keep pulling it around. You'll just find that it's a lot easier to work with. So grab the inside of the yarn. And this video is designed for ultimate beginners, like you've never done this before. So it's going to be detailed, thorough, and a little slower. So it may end up being in parts, different videos. All right, first thing I'm going to do is locate my starting peg, which is on the outside. Here's my starting peg right here. And I'm just going to take my yarn and make a knot, just a regular knot, single knot, and attach that to the outside, that starter peg. Okay, not too tight because you're going to end up pulling that off in a bit. All right, getting my yarn set up, I'm going to pull some out to have to work with, and I'm going to do, for my cast on, the E-wrap. So I'm right-handed, I'm going to go to the right, and I'm going to do one row of the E-wrap cast on. So what I do is I take from my starter peg, I'm going to go right in between those two pegs. This is going to be my first peg. This will be the last one. And I'm going to take the yarn and wrap it behind and then around to the front. And that actually makes the shape of a lowercase e. So going all the way around, going to the back first and wrapping it around to the front, I'm going to do all pegs. As I wrap my pegs, I like to push the yarn down to get it ready for the next row. So I'm kind of doing a 2-in-1 motion here. And I'm just going to go all the way around, wrapping it from the back to the front and pushing it down with my other hand. You can use a table like this to do this, or you can hold it in your lap. I like to use the table for the beginner part because I can hold it, push it on there flat. I don't have to worry about holding the loom at the same time I'm trying to wrap this, and it glides easier. Okay, I just did my last peg here, so now I'm going to do one more row on top of the E-wrap. So I'm going right above it, and I'm going to continue going in that same direction. Because we're making a hat, you want this in the round. It's going to connect this to make a nice round tube that you will end up turning it into a hat. So again, go from behind around to the front. My yarn was already pushed down before I started this, so it makes it a lot quicker. And, whoops. Just holding that yarn down. This wool doesn't tend to come off that easily, but just hold your yarn down with your other hand to make sure that the yarn doesn't pop off. I do like to do the E-wrap all at one time, meaning wrap all my pegs and then knit over. I don't want to do it one at a time for the E-wrap. That's just the technique I like to use. All right, now I'm at the last peg here, and I'm going to take my hook and we're going to pull on that bottom yarn, and we're going to yarn over the top yarn. So pull on, hook it, and pull it over. And we're going to go all the way around. I started with the one that was the very last one that I wrapped. Okay, I'm not going from the front here, I'm going from the back and working backwards now. I like to go with my hook, I like to go from underneath, grabbing it, whoops, show you that again, and pulling it over, as opposed to going from the top pulling it over, it just makes my wrist twist a little bit more, and I don't like that. I like this where I can keep my hand stationary. I'm not doing anything twisting. Everybody has their own technique, but I do prefer to do under, just in case that was a question for you, whether to go from the top of the yarn and hooking it or going under. I found this a lot faster for me. Okay, so that was all the way around. We just did our cast on. Pretty simple, right? All right, now, because I'm using, okay, now I'm gonna push these down pretty quick. I didn't have to do it while I was knitting. Because I'm using a 6 weight, okay, yarn, it's chunky. I'm going to continue doing the E-wrap with this hat. There are other stitches that you could do, like the flat or the U-wrap or whatever, but I'm going to stick with the E-wrap to do this. And I am going to wrap all the pegs, okay, going from behind around to the front. I'm going to wrap all the pegs first, and then I'm going to knit over. And with this hat, I'm going to make this skein right here is enough yardage for one hat. And they also show on the description here, some yarns do this. They'll say how many skeins you should have. This one says 1 skein. This one also shows it with a rim on there. And so I think I'm going to do that with this hat. See, I let go of my yarn and it did not. It only unraveled a couple of them. So just kind of watch that, holding your yarn on the pegs so it doesn't unravel, or unwind, I should say, come undone. And on this one, because it's chunky, I'm gonna kind of eyeball how many rows I want to make before I make my rim, so, or the brim. So this is going to be the first section. Basically, it entails the cast on and then what stitch to use. And I'm doing that last peg right here, I just wrapped. I'm going to go from there and knit over, going to my left now. Just grabbing that bottom and knitting it over the top. Because I'm working to the left, I'm not pushing the yarn down. I'll do that after I'm done knitting it. So this size hat is going to be an adult size, or just a larger size. Teens can wear it too. It's a neutral color, male, female. Most males can fit into this hat. Because I'm doing the E-wrap, it has a little bit more of a give, more stretch to it. Okay, now I'm just going to take both hands and push the yarn down. And my light just fell, so I'm going to fix that. There we go. Okay, and that was my first official row. Grabbing more yarn to work with. And do I count my rows sometimes? Keep track of how many rows I'm doing? Not necessarily, because each yarn is different. It knits different. I usually just kind of eyeball to see how much I want on there as far as rows. And like I said, I'm going to do a brim on here, or a brim, little fold over. The fold over will be attached. It will be knitted in. So that will be a permanent fold. Okay, I'm on my last one. And now going back. All right, so now that I've knitted 2 rows on here, this is starting to pull, so I'm going to take this starter peg yarn off. It does have a loose knot. I want to take that knot out. And we are going to pull it through the center here and just let it dangle down in the inside the loom there. All right, back to my yarning over. Actually, I want to get that yarn. I'm going to pull it through here and let it hang in the front here so it doesn't keep getting in the way. And now, as you can tell, working this, you can either do it on a table or just in your lap. This can pretty much, this project can go with you anywhere. I mean, you have very minimal supplies and your yarn can sit anywhere. Because I'm only using the E-wrap, it's pretty easy. You're not counting anything. You're not doing every other pattern of a stitch. So this is pretty easy to do. All right, back to the beginning. Don't pull on that last yarn that you're pulling over. Don't pull that out too far. Let it almost just glide it over, because you have a little bit more, there's more yarn here, and so you don't want this stitch here to look weird. All right, now we're taking and pushing all of these down using both hands. And we are on the third row, I believe. And just E-wrapping again, going from behind the peg, wrap it around to the front. Oh, I almost pulled the exact amount that I needed. And after the last peg, yarn it over. All right, so that is the gist of getting your knit hat started. And I'm gonna let you go ahead and do the rows. I'm going to skip ahead and let you know how many rows you're actually going to do. Okay, so I decided to do 24 rows, and this is going to be our folded brim. So I'm gonna knit one more row for 24. And what I ended up doing is grabbing my note cards that I have numbers on to keep track of what rows I'm on. So that way I don't have to keep counting, especially if I have to step away for a second. But I will show you how to count your rows just to see where you're at, just in case you're losing count. So at the beginning here, you have your cast on. Skip those pieces of yarn, okay? And there should be 2 of them, okay? It's kind of a rolled up thing here. There's 2 pieces of yarn for your cast on. Then you start to see, and this is on the inside, this is the back side of your hat, you should start to see these stitches that look similar going up. Start counting from there. So on this one, it's my 3rd one, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Looks weird there. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 total on my loom. And I'm going to do one more row. So we'll do this together. And then after we do this, you'll probably want to pause the video to catch up because you are still probably back in the other rows. So here's just one more row to show you doing the E-wrap. Each type of yarn is going to give you different length, but this is a 6, the chunky yarn, so it should be similar to any of the 6. So I'm picking 24 rows to do because I like a little bit more of a fold. I don't want it too narrow, I like it a little bit wider. So yeah, grab yourself some paper, cardstock, whatever, postcards, and write some numbers on it so you can keep track of how many rows. You don't have to keep manually counting it. Definitely has helped me so much on my projects. And you don't have to stick to 24. You can do however many you want. How do you check to see how many you want? As you're going along, take your bottom here and fold it up, match it up with the row of pegs here to see how wide that's going to be. Okay, from there you can see it, or that's how wide it's going to be. All right, so basically you're going to have, you know, splitting it in half. That's how many stitches that are actually going to show, how many rows. All right, now here's where you're going to want to pause the video or stop it, catch up, and get to the rows that you want to designate for your folded brim. And then I will meet you back to do the next section. Okay, so now we're going to fold this up. Keeping my starting yarn right here in between the first two pegs, let that dangle down in between. Now I'm going to turn my loom around. Okay, and I'm going to pull from the bottom this up. Okay, and I'm going to figure out where the starting and the end is. Okay, right here with that starting yarn. There's your starting. What we're going to do is attach this bottom row of yarn onto the pegs here to fold this, and then we're going to yarn it over. So what I want to do is take my yarn here, we're going to fold it inside, and you can start at the beginning and go around first, the first peg here, the starter peg, or you can start at the end and work around. I'm going to start at the end, and I'm going to take that first available, okay, just kind of pulling this part to show you the first available yarn here. You also want your lines to be straight. You don't want to, you know, go over to the side too far and have it be wonky. You want it to be straight. So I'm going to identify this open one right here as my first starting one. And then, and this is the very bottom, I'm not taking two strands, I'm just taking the very first strand from my cast on and pulling it and putting it onto the peg. This is easy to fix too. Let's say you started with the wrong strand and you're off by one, they're easy to pull off and redo. But you want to check that before you start yarning over. But see how they're loose because it's the E-wrap, so it's real easy to pull and establish where that loop is with this type of yarn. It gets a little trickier when you have the more narrow yarn where it's not chunky. This is very easy to establish what is the next hole basically to use, or the next loop. Okay, and we're getting down to the end. I made sure that that starting strand is tucked inside. It's just going to get folded in and then yarned right over. And we're down to the last one. We have no more loops left. Okay, so on this yarn, it was easy to tell. It's my little ladder here. It was that first available one, that loop from the starter yarn that was hanging out. Okay, and then also again, make sure that your, oh, sorry about that, I just hit the camera. Make sure that your starter yarn here, the one that you're going to start working with, is in between the last peg and the first peg. Okay, now from here, I'm going to take the yarn, the bottom row, and yarn that over. And now we just basically knitted in that fold for the brim. Don't be alarmed if your yarn is tighter and harder to pull over. that will happen. So basically you're just yarning that over. I'm going to get to the end here so you can see how that folded part is, and then you're going to decide how many rows you want to do to finish your hat. And you'll kind of probably eyeball it. Depends on how big of a hat you want. Sometimes you just use up the rest of the skein. But I'll get this part done, and then we'll do another pause, and then we'll get to the end and figure out how to finish your hat. So I'll push these down, and from the front, this is the outside of the hat. This is the outside. This is how big that foldable brim is going to be. And now on the inside, that's the inside of your hat. Nice and insulated for the ears and the forehead. Makes a really cute hat. This is so soft too. With this yarn, where to get it, starting to become a little quandary now with Joann's. I did get this at Joann's. You can find it online if your store is closed. It is Lion brand yarns, Wool Ease, thick and quick. You can use any kind of 6, okay, bulky yarn for this. You don't have to use this yarn. But again, with the Lion brand yarns, you can find this at other stores. You can also find it online. Just do your code here and, you know, Google or whatever, and find out where that yarn is. This is gray marble for the color. But you don't have to get too stuck on following the exact yarn for projects, okay? You can pick whatever yarn you want to use, but with this particular pattern, what you want to look for is super bulky 6. You can even do this in chenille, a polyester, if you wanted. So don't get hung up on the yarn, but I just wanted to tell you what yarn I am using. Okay, so from here now, what you're going to do is continue with your E-wrap all the way around, and we're going to decide how many rows we want to do. Just feeling this, I don't even know if I'm going to use the whole rest of this because it seems like there's a lot left. So, all right, I will see you in a minute. Pause this, and then I'll let you know how many rows I'm going to do. So I decided to do 22 rows for the length of my hat. It's going to be a little slouchy, but not too much. You can go more, you could do more, you could do less. I've got about this much yarn left over. Okay, next part, we're going to finish this off. So the next thing we're going to want to do is our cast off. Now, because this is a hat, we're going to cinch this together. So what I'm going to do is take my yarn, and I'm going to measure this. I'm going to go around one full time, and then to give me a little extra to work with, I'm going to go about a quarter, maybe half, depends on how much extra you want to have. I don't like to have too much extra dangling down through my hat. I'm going to do about a quarter. So we just cut that off, okay? And then unwrap that. And then starting with my starting peg, what I'm going to do is take my hook, and with my working yarn here, I'm going to take the hook and go from the top of the yarn that's on the peg, and I'm going to pull my yarn, the working yarn over, and I'm going to grab that working yarn, okay, the loose yarn, pull it through the loop that's on the peg, and pull it all the way through. Okay, this will enable me to cinch my hat and not have the yarn stuck. So grab that hook from the, grab the yarn from the top with the hook, push your yarn over, grab it, pull it through, and do this for each of your pegs. Okay, I'll see you at the end. Okay, we've got 2 more pegs left. And I definitely cut enough yarn to work with. Okay, now from here, what we're going to do is take each loops off of your knitting loom. It's not going to fall apart because you've got that yarn that weaved inside each loop, so it's catching each stitch. So we're just taking this off around the home stretch. So pretty simple project, especially if you're a beginner. This is a great one to start with. Plus you have something to show for it. Super cute to keep for yourself or give as a gift or whatever you want to do. It's an original, a unique, one-of-a-kind hat you just made. Super fun. Okay, now loom is done. And we've got the yarn. All we're going to do is pull this and it's going to start to take shape. And now I'm going to turn it inside out. So this is the right side. Okay, let's turn it inside out and continue pulling. Okay, getting it all pulled, situated so I can see it. And just keep pulling that yarn. See, now it's like super long, right? So I don't like to cut it too long. Keep cinching it until you close up that hole. All right, and the last part is coming up. That hole is only going to cinch so far. So now we're going to weave the yarn in with the needle, and that will finish up the project. All right, so I've got my plastic needle. The eye on these are wider, so you can get the yarn through, especially this chunky yarn. And we're just going to get the yarn in the eye. So I fold this up instead of trying to stick these strands in. I fold this pretty tight and push that through, so it doesn't pull apart the strands. A little trickier with chunky yarn. I'm pulling this end more. Okay, there, now that one got through, and leaving a decent amount tail here at the end so it doesn't come out of your needle. All right, so I pulled this as much as I could. Can't get it any smaller. Again, I'm on the inside of the hat now, the wrong side, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is find where it's coming out, the beginning, and I'm going to continue in the same direction. Okay, so it kind of wants to go clockwise here. So now I'm going to grab the beginner, it's like the cast on stitch, the one, the very, very edge here. I'm gonna grab a couple loops here, a couple stitches, and go underneath them. They don't have to be one next to the other. You can skip a couple. Okay, I am skipping a couple. And so I just went underneath it. I'm not weaving or anything. And then that starts to close up the hole here. Okay, now I'm skipping a couple, grabbing these. These are the very end loops here. It's basically the last thing that you just did, the cast off. You don't want to go into the hat. That's going to leave something weird up on the top here. Skipping a couple, grabbing a couple more, pulling that, and that will close up the hole on the top. It's pretty much all you need. You don't need to keep going around and around. I don't even think I got to the end there. All right, now let's finish this off. We're gonna just give it a simple knot. I'm gonna grab one more loop going in that same direction, just one. I'm gonna pull it through up until about here, leave a loop, and then I'm just going to stick the needle in the loop and pull that. Okay, that will create a knot. Cut your yarn off. Not going to right now. cut it off, you'll have just leave about that much, not even, leave about that much, and then go to the other side, and there is your chunky, adorable knitted on the loom. Love it. All right, you guys, I hope this turned out great for you. I hope you had fun. Thank you so very much for watching. Please subscribe, like, share my videos, and I have more stuff to come, so stay tuned. Thank you.